Donadell can get them started with a big return here. Finds a seam up the middle. Donadell on the run again. Out past the 50. Another huge return for Amani Donadell.
Que bueno, amigos. Estás escuchando al Barcelona Bad Boys podcast. I am your host, Jay Pry, the sports guy, Jordan Pryor, if you will. You can follow me on Twitter at jpry, the guy. You can also follow the Fourth Down Fiasco Podcast Network at @4thdown_pod on Twitter or at Fourth Down Fiasco on TikTok or Instagram. Right now, there is no Barcelona Bad Boys Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anything like that, because I don't know how deep into this I'm trying to get. But I do want to give some sort of an update every week if possible, excluding the one week that I'll be on vacation in the Dominican Republic because I ain't doing shit that week. But I do want to do my absolute best to try and cover the team that I said that I would cheer for this season. For those of y'all who don't know me, just real quick, I just want to give a quick introduction to who I am. Again, yes, my name is Jordan Pryor. I am a huge football fan, born and raised in Texas. I now live in Colorado with my wife and our two dogs, but I'm from Texas, love football, grew up a huge football guy, love my Cowboys, love the Texas Longhorns, went to Allen High School, which for those of you who don't know is a football mecca in the state of Texas. Friday Night Lights is a thing where I come from. So, I mean, I have been pre-exposed to high quality football from a young age. And, you know, with being a part of the Fourth Down Fiasco podcast, we have all decided for this year of the European League of Football, we were all going to choose teams and we were all going to cheer for that team and we were going to cover that team potentially, which this is what I'm doing. And yeah, that's about where we're at. I was supposed to be a Raiders to Roll fan, but their fan base it just wasn't popping, to be quite honest. No disrespect to the team because they absolutely dominated in their game today. A phenomenal team. But I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, and I wanted to be a part of people who love football and are willing to talk football with random people on the internet, and Barcelona seemed like the right crowd for that. So here I am, a Barcelona Dragons fan. So yeah, let's dive into the nitty-gritty, shall we? Because, oh my goodness, there is this game. If you can tell, I am at a loss for words right now. I don't have a ton to say other than just holy shit. Yeah, at no point during this game did I feel like Barcelona wasn't the best team. Barcelona felt like the best team. Even during the first half, whenever it was 12-3, I truly, in my soul, just based on the eye test, was telling myself, Barcelona is the better team. And that's something that I'm kind of excited to bring into this podcast as I continue it, hopefully throughout the season, as long as y'all listen, is, you know, it takes a good 24 to 48 hours for stats to populate on the ELF website. And so, and I'm not going to be going through on like a graph sheet of paper and, you know, every yard counting it and every touchdown counting it. That's way too tedious. I like to watch the games and enjoy the games and be a fan. And so, yeah, this podcast is going to be all about the eye test. And we're going to see how right I get things whenever the stats come out. But I think that's kind of the fun of it. I have no problem admitting whenever I'm wrong. I have no problem opening up myself to scrutiny. People in my life will tell you that firsthand. And but yeah, let's talk the eye test here, because my eye test takeaways are this. Number one, Levi Lewis is that dude. He looked surgical through most of this. There were some issues whenever he was under pressure. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But Levi Lewis is that dude, and he is going to be that dude for Barcelona. And I told everyone going into this season that he is going to be a problem. He was a problem with the Raging Cajuns, and I understand that isn't the top tier college football experience, but he was a problem. That dude broke records. Okay. He was, if Levi Lewis were 6'4", if Levi Lewis were 6'4", he would be in the NFL and he'd probably be starting for a team. Okay. He looked like the best player on the field, him and Akins Jr. both. But he looked far and away to be the best player on Barcelona, to the point to where there is this, I don't know how to explain this dynamic, but whenever you watch the NFL or even D1 college football, there is a certain level of play that creates a certain strategy to go with it. And again, I'm still just so on cloud nine after this win that it's hard for me to put things into words. But there is a certain strategy used in American football that's played in America, in D1 college and in the pros, that he had to adjust his game. And I could tell he was having to adjust his game because it's not like that in the ELF. You know, it is a lot more, I don't think rogue is the right word here, but it's a lot more raw. There we go. So it's a lot more raw. It's a lot more backyard football, which I think is going. I had so much fun watching this game because truly it is like backyard football, but on a much bigger scale, you know, where it is all about what athletes and personnel you have on the field. And there is just such a difference in pace and everything else. But guys were hitting. They were hitting. And credit to the Mercenaries. They were laying the wood on folks. I mean, they were hitting people like the NFL used to let happen back in like 2005. I mean, they were hitting people, man. And Barcelona was too, but the Mercenaries especially. I mean, I don't know what's in that Swiss water. I know that their water is probably a lot better than it is out here in the States. Maybe not in Colorado. Maybe it's on the same tier here in Colorado because, you know, we got good water around here. But whatever's in the water that they got over there in Switzerland, bro, them boys came to hit. Loved it. But yeah, Levi Lewis looked like the best player on the field, at least for Barcelona, to the point to where it almost felt like he had to take a step back and recognize that this isn't D1 college football. This isn't the NFL, because he was a second or third string quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks for a year. It's not the same. You got to make more adjustments on the fly because there is a level of unpredictability that comes with this league. And there are so many other factors almost that you don't have to account for in the NFL and in D1 college that you do here. And that's what's so exciting is, you know, you've got so many guys who are former rugby players or wrestlers or, you know, just weightlifters or, you know, fill in the blank type of athletes. And so because a lot of these guys are so raw in their football talent and in their football prowess, it's not the same type of gameplay that you would have against, you know, say playing against like the Washington Commanders or playing against, you know, the Crimson Tide or the Toledo, you know, Toledo's team, or, you know, just fill in the blank with whoever you want here. I don't know why I tossed in Toledo in that bunch. Whatever. But yeah, it was really exciting to see Levi Lewis, you know, in his debut, looked great. Another big takeaway that I had was Barcelona's defense looked pretty strong with the exception of their linebackers. Lord have mercy. The linebackers, they need some help. We'll get into that as well. And then my last point here is Barcelona didn't look crisp, especially not in that first half. Again, shooting themselves in the foot. A lot of dumb mistakes. But the one thing that they did show, even despite them not looking crisp, is their resiliency. And resiliency is important. So I'm going to just start kind of going game by game with the notes that I have over here. In the first quarter, I have multiple penalties by the O-line killed 2 different drives. there were two different instances where Barcelona was marching down the field, and there were false start calls, and it was at least one of them. I know it was like a second and manageable. It was like a 2nd and 6. False start happens. All of a sudden, it's 2nd and 11, incompletion, followed by another incompletion, and then we had to punt. And then there was another drive as well where we were starting to get real close to that goal line. Actually, it was the series where we ended up missing that first field goal, and we drove down. We were looking good. Levi was looking mad surgical out there. I mean, just taking advantage of what the defense was giving him. Some short passes, some mid passes. Didn't really have anything deep for the most part, except for a touchdown drop, but we'll get to that here in a minute. But yeah, just great drive. And then it was, I believe there was a drop. It was 2nd and 10. Then there was a penalty. And then it was 2nd and 15, and we just didn't recover from that, and then missed the field goal. So, and again, these stats haven't been posted. This is me literally just writing down what I see, and so I'm kind of excited to see if what I'm talking about right now is real. But yeah, multiple drives killed by penalties. There was also a really bad McCluskey drop early on not early in the first quarter, but early on in the game in the first quarter. I don't think that he necessarily had the speed to get around that corner and get the touchdown, but he definitely had enough to, if he would have caught that ball and made sure that he caught it before he turned around, because I think that's where the problem was. The pass was a little bit short, I'm not gonna lie. Levi probably could have just added just a little bit extra to it. But McCluskey was already turning around before he caught the ball, dropped it, and we didn't get the first down. It would have set up a 1st and goal, and we probably could have struck sooner. And yeah, again, that was a big theme in this first half, was we just couldn't get things going. Kept shooting ourselves in the foot, and there just wasn't a whole lot that we could do. Defense, for the most part, looked really good in that first quarter. Really held the Mercenaries to very limited action. And this is with, Akins Jr. Wanting to put up big points against his former team, which I do want to give credit to Akins Jr. as well. Played phenomenal. Levi Lewis was the best player for Barcelona. He was the best player for the Mercenaries. Just really had a command on everything in the game. But yeah, so going to the second quarter, Anthony Brown, Texas native, shout out my boy, struck first. The coverage wasn't awful. It was more of a great throw than anything from Carlton Aiken Jr. But Hernandez Jimenez didn't drop soon enough in coverage. Kind of what it looked like is, I'm not sure if they were running a zone in that play or what, but I mean, Anthony Brown was running directly at him, and he just didn't drop back in coverage fast enough. So that tells me at least that it was zone and not man, because it was almost like he was waiting to see if Akins Jr. was going to take off or not. And because of that, was just a step behind. Beautifully thrown ball to Anthony Brown, touchdown, right? So that's where we are. I apologize. I'm going to take a quick whiskey sip break here. But yeah, Anthony Brown strikes first touchdown of the game. And yeah, moving forward again into the second quarter, Donadell, who overall I think had a great game. I mean, you can tell he is a very dynamic individual. I hope that Barcelona continues to use him similar to how the San Francisco 49ers use Brandon Ayuk, in that, you can have jet sweeps with him. He's, I couldn't tell you what his 40 time is off the top of my head. His straight line speed looks above average. I mean, he's not like blazing fast, but he's fast enough. And then he's got the strength, man. He just looks like a horse out there running. His legs are tree trunks. It's ridiculous, man. Absolute phenomenal athlete. Had some great special teams moments, especially, but also had some other great moments. But yeah, second quarter, man, Barcelona was driving down the field, looked good. Lewis steps back into the pocket, lets one rip, takes a little bit of contact while he does, and dropped it right in the breadbasket for Donadell. Right, you could not ask for a better ball in stride. He didn't have to slow down. He didn't have to speed up. Right in the breadbasket, dropped it. And because of that, they ended up not scoring on that drive, if I remember correctly. I don't think that they got the field goal then. Yeah, no, they didn't score a field goal on that drive. And so yeah, Barcelona again comes up empty on a drive that they were moving and grooving all the way down. Looked good. Looked like they knew exactly what was going on until it was time to really make a play, and then they just fell a little bit short. From there, man, again, going back to that point about our linebackers, as a new fan, I'm not going to make any assumptions. I'm not going to talk like I know really anything about this team. I am going game by game, case by case here. But linebackers did not look good today. There was, I don't remember what down it was. I don't have that in my notes here. But Akins Jr. drops back. It's clearly a pass play. Rush defense, I mean, they collapse, and I think we send like 5 or 6 guys. So, I mean, it was a blitz for sure. But there was no linebacker and there was nobody in that second level on defense anywhere near the middle of the field. Blitz comes in, it opens up the middle. Akins takes off, and I mean, he took off. Now, Akins got game-breaking speed, brother. That man, fast. Woo! He was moving, and that is a big man to be moving that fast. Moving. Runs up the gut, ends up making a move and makes Freja miss. Freja took kind of a bad angle on that one too. He had overall, I think Freja had a pretty good game. He had a couple of breakups too on some passes, but it, just bad moment, bad angle in space. Akins, takes it. It was like 60 yards for a touchdown. Yeah, just incredible stuff from Akins Jr. I mean, if you were to, play your former team and stick it to them, Akins stuck it to his former team. But yeah, that leads us to Donadell had a pretty good return. After that, nothing really happened on that drive afterwards. I mean, I think that there was probably a first down or two, but it did set up a field goal. Took us into half. We were down 12-3. Then moving into the third quarter, I do just want to say, again, I am new to being a Barcelona Dragons fan, but it appears to me, at least via game one, that our special teams is a strong point. At least our coverage and return, not necessarily our kicker, but it appears, at least in all the games that I've watched so far this weekend, that kicking is hard to come by in the ELF. And as a former rugby player, it drives me up a wall how many chip shots were missed. In all the games that I've watched like 3 or 4 this weekend. And yeah, a lot of chip shots missed. But aside from kickers, our special teams, as far as coverage and return, look great. And in the third quarter, early on, there was a muffed punt that we recovered that really felt like it shifted momentum. I mean, it really felt like going into halftime, at least we had a little bit of momentum with the made field goal. And so at least we could kind of, we didn't get shut out in the first half, but man, recovering that fumble was huge because that put us in great field position. And then right afterwards, I mean, a couple plays afterwards, Iron Dunov, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I'm not. I might just call him Iron Man at this point because he did such a damn good job today. Iron Man slipped past coverage for our first touchdown of the game. I mean, it was one of those situations where it at least to me looked like their linebackers were in kind of a zone. I couldn't tell you anything based on the couple of angles that I can see with Game Pass. Couldn't tell you what kind of coverage their actual like secondary was in, but the linebackers looked like they were kind of in like this like mixed zone package, and the linebacker crept up whenever he should have gone into coverage with Iron Dunov and got beat. And Iron Dunov just literally walked into the end zone for the first Barcelona touchdown of the game. And yeah, immediately afterwards, McCluskey sneaks out into the flat for a 2-point conversion. All of a sudden, we have ourselves a ball game. And you can tell the boys were hyped. You know, they were off to the going off to the sidelines, and they looked like a different team. They looked more focused. They looked more energized. They looked like they had something to play for. They didn't look like a team that kept shooting themselves in the foot. In the first half, it looked like they had completely just, forgotten everything that happened. Shout out to Coach Shelton for whatever he said during halftime, because they looked like a completely different team in the second half. And this is where the game got really exciting. I watched the game today while I was doing a lot of house chores, did a lot of cleaning around the house, and was kind of in and out during the first half. Second half, I stopped cleaning because I was like, oh shit, we have a game here. So yeah, Barcelona brings it within, what was that, 2, right? Because it was, oh no, they brought it back within 1. Excuse me. After the 2-point conversion, brought it back within 1. And then I will give the Mercenaries their credit. I mean, they acted like it was nothing. Had a great drive down the field. Anthony Brown benefited from a great play call whenever they had made it to about midfield, maybe a little bit past midfield. I couldn't tell who the other wide receiver involved was because, again, just with some of the angles with Game Pass, it is a little bit difficult to see everything all at once. But basically what happened is Anthony Brown was lined up on the inside. Whoever was on the outside had a great post route, went deep, posted right before Anthony Brown then turned on the jets, right? And the safety bit on the post instead of following Brown on the go. It's just miscommunication. This was probably the one moment this game where I really felt like our secondary made a huge mistake. For the most part, I think that our secondary had a great game, but this was definitely a big mistake from them. And yeah, it ended up leading to a Brown touchdown. Again, great pass from Akins Jr., just right in the breadbasket, right in the numbers, catches it, waltzes into the end zone. No problem. And yeah, just great play call. it created basically a natural pick, almost like a high screen that you would see in basketball. Almost like a high screen where, yeah, because of the outside wide receiver cutting in and almost kind of shadowing or eclipsing the receiver that's behind him, that go route was just wide open for Brown. But so then we get the ball. Pacheco Garcia, who had a nice, pretty good game. I shouldn't say great, but pretty good game. Catches a huge pass that would have been a touchdown if he would have kept his footing. And I don't know what was going on with the field out there in Switzerland. It just looked like at least our guys were slipping a lot. That was some thick grass. Especially guys like Lewis, who are used to playing more probably on like AstroTurf than anything. Yeah, it just a lot of guys lost their footing, and it was one of those instances where Pacheco Garcia did the same thing. They just couldn't quite continue going after catching the ball, but he caught the ball, and that's all I give a shit about. Gets us to probably about, I want to say like the 3-yard line, something like that. And then, man, great play call by Shelton in a 1st and goal situation. We've been going to Monton the entire game, and I didn't think that he was super effective, but he kind of had like that Ezekiel Elliott aura about him where he crashes up the middle, might drag a guy or two, or hits the hole really hard, kind of wiggles his way through. A lot of 2, 3, 4 yard gains. Nothing super negative from him, so to speak, just not as effective as I was hoping he would be with some of these calls. And the entire time I kept telling myself, I was like, man, if Lewis just holds on to this ball instead and they make it an option situation and he swings out to the side, he's got room to run. And sure enough, this was that play call. Option. And instead of handing it off to Monton, he swings out to the side, does a little goose step. I do want to call out another great play by McCluskey. Great block here. If he's there a split second longer, it probably is a hold. But before it became something where the defender's momentum got shifted because of his hands, he let go just in time. Fantastic block. Gave Lewis just enough time to hit that corner, hit a little goose step, like we say in rugby, and hit that corner, get a touchdown. And again, just absolute great play call. Coach Shelton was in his bag with that one, right? And it was a phenomenal way to end that third quarter. Still not ahead, but we're right there, and the momentum is clearly on our side. And then in the fourth quarter, we just dominated. So again, I do want to shout out that while we weren't particularly effective in the first half, down the stretch, we looked great down the stretch. Defense did a great job of getting a stop on a drive that looked like, Akins was moving down the field with that ball. Helvetic was looking really good, moving down the field, getting past the 50. And then defense just got to stop. And, we get the ball back. And then Iron Dunov did a great job again. Shout out my boy Iron Man. You heard me. Tony Stark in this thing. Did a great job after a long drive by us going the other way to shield the defender with his body. This was a what I like to call a grown man catch. Just did such a great job on his route. I can't say enough good things about this route that he ran, because it was a curling route towards the corner of the end zone, the front corner of the end zone, shields the defender with his body. The only way that defender could have stopped the ball was if it were pass interference. Iron Dunov catches it. Lewis delivers a strike. It's right in the numbers. Touchdown. And for the first time this game, Barcelona takes the lead. And then that takes us to what would be the Mercenaries' last drive. And again, it was similar to the first drive that they had in the fourth quarter, marching down the field, looking pretty damn good. And then it was just that defensive line, man, I got to give some folks their credit. That defensive line for Barcelona just did some nasty stuff down the stretch, doing all the dirty work in the trenches. They end up getting it was either back-to-back sacks, or it was a sack, an incompletion, and then a sack. I'm waiting on these stats to come out, but we're just doing strictly eye test and notes here. But got 2 huge sacks down the stretch, ended the drive. And then Barcelona was able to basically go out in victory formation, take a couple of kneels, and call it a game. But yeah, what a way to start the season. What a way to start the season, man. I'm juiced. I'm glad I went this route. It felt kind of easy being a Raiders to roll fan, just because that's what Twitter voted for me to be. And also, they had a pretty darn good season last season. But as soon as I saw Barcelona sign Levi Lewis, and I saw the damage that he did for the Raging Cajuns, I wanted to be a part of it. And on top of that, it seems like Barcelona fans, at least for American football, are a little bit more excited about it than any Raiders Tyrol fans that I've seen. And so, just the community and, the moves that they're making, they're on the up and up. I really do think that as the season continues and as more chemistry is built with this team, specifically this offense, I'm telling y'all, Levi Lewis is going to be a problem, especially once he figures out because Donadell is dynamic. He is a weapon of weapons. He is a weapon of mass destruction. Okay. Once they figure each other out, once they've had a couple games under their belt, man, it's going to be a beautiful thing. But yeah, that is our eye test, our game notes recap of game one. I do want to just shout out real quick the Helvetic crowd, the Swiss. Hey, y'all came with it. It wasn't sold out, but there were quite a few fans there, and they were loud. I mean, they had. I know in soccer they call them vuvuzelas. They had horns just out the ass, just crazy. They were chanting and screaming, and whenever they didn't agree with flags, they were booing. I mean, it was a good atmosphere for sure. And also want to just shout out the Mercenaries too for playing a damn good game. They really brought it, and honestly, they brought it for more quarters than Barcelona did. They had 3 out of their 4 quarters that were great, whereas Barcelona had 2 out of their 4. But Barcelona pulled it out. And again, like I said early on in the show, I thought that Barcelona was just the better team from the jump. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot. So moving forward, kind of what we're looking at here is Barcelona needs to, again, do a better job of just cleaning things up. Again, just enough with the dumb penalties. Most of them were in the first half, but enough with the dumb penalties. You can't have that, especially whenever you're not quite as strong as some of these other teams. Not talking about the Mercenaries in specific, but I'm thinking about your teams like Vienna or Tyrol or the Rain Fire. Some of these better teams, you can't have these dumb mistakes. You will have no chance against them. But I think that certain players on this team are so dynamic. I have so much faith in Levi Lewis as a quarterback. I have so much faith in Donadell just as a weapon of mass destruction. I have so much faith in this Barcelona front line who looks like, they were a highlight on that defense. There was nothing, at least in my eye test, that told me that they didn't dominate that game. So yeah, that's the recap. I'm pulling up real quick who we play next week. It's looking like, is it Munich? Forgive me, y'all. I probably should have had this up sooner. No, that show. Here we go. No. Ooh. Sorry, I was looking at week 14 from last year when we played Munich. No, this upcoming week we play in Madrid. So y'all already know here on the Fourth Down Fiasco, me and Tanner are going to be going at it because he recently made the switch to Madrid. We both decided it would make more sense for us to cheer for Spanish teams. And yeah, that inter-country rivalry is going to be wild next week. So I'm really looking forward to that. Especially with Madrid being on the up and up and the way that they are. Man, I want that rivalry to flourish. So, yeah, thanks so much for checking this out. Sorry that this was kind of a long-winded recap. I'm getting used to all the names and the players and the staff and even the teams, because this is my first week of a true week, at least, of being a European League of Football fan. This time last year, I didn't even know that this league existed. So hang in there with me, and I'll hang in there with y'all. But I appreciate y'all so much. If y'all would, I would really appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether if it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. 5 stars and a review goes a long way. Hey, say go Dragons, brick by brick, baby. We out here, whatever you want to put in the review, that's cool. 5 stars goes a long way to help us grow the show and helps us reach more Barcelona fans. But yeah, I will talk to y'all next week whenever we play the Madrid Bravos. And it's going to be a crazy game. I know that Madrid crowd's going to bring it. They are going to be. Madrid is a proud city. They are proud of everything that they do. So I'm super excited for next week's game. But yeah, with that, enjoy the victory, y'all. It was a good one. It was exciting. It was fun. Great way to start off the season. Definitely some area for improvement, but also at the same time, a lot of really encouraging things. And yeah, until next time, y'all. Y'all take care. Vaya con Dios, amigos. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon.